welcome to story time. I had a really bad day today, and it made me think about something else that went kind of wrong when I was younger, and I thought I'd share it because apparently that's what I'm going to be doing these days is making videos about the things that have either gone wrong for me or been really bad to me. And I will admit in them when I've had a part in it. I will admit that much. Where to start? When um when I was still kind of figuring out who I was as a person, I met this girl online who I want to say was like 3 years younger than me. I'm not really sure. I was in my mid 20s at the time, and I think I was like 22, 23, and she had just turned 18 or something when we first met, or something around there, and we got to know each other because we were talking about art and other stuff and playing video games and doing role play like Dungeons and Dragons style and making up our own universes and all that other fun stuff. And we spent 2 years talking a lot, almost every day, because I didn't have much else to do in my sorry excuse for life. She was doing school, homeschool, school online, whatever. I don't remember exactly. So, this one's a doozy. She believed herself to be trans, and I was like, oh, I finally get to say I know someone who's trans. She was trans toward male, and so over the 2 years, there kind of became a little thing between us where it's like, you're my little brother. I'll look up, I'll look out for you. I'll support you if I can, all that fun stuff. And then I found out she lived about a state away from me. Hey, dog. Shh. My dog's trying to bury her toy, and it's being very noisy. Come here. Oh, no. Anyway, and so I was in a very bad living situation. I had gone from an abusive parents' home to a rent-a-room place for 2 or 3 years to where all of the roommates were toxic except for two, and they were there for a very short time as they cycled out and about. And then I had reached my limit and moved out with one of the toxic roommates who had seemed like a normal person. I'm going to call her Husky Mom because that's what she is, and I could think of some other things to call her. But while I was living with Husky Mom, um, I was paying the lower half of everything, but I furnished the entire house. And thanks to my job, I had access to lawn care tools, which I was originally using on the backyard and everything. Anyway, it was a complete disaster. That roommate turned out to be one of the more toxic out of all the ones I'd had up to that point. Didn't clean up after her dogs. Her dogs were basically trashing the house, taking big poops in the house. She'd disappear out of state with 4 hours of warning and expecting me to take care of her animals. It was really bad. So I've got my friend of 2 years, and I say to her, why don't we think about moving in together next year when my lease is up with this one? Because I had always heard, don't become roommates with your friends. So I had never had a friend or someone I knew as a roommate. And I thought, well, every single roommate I've had, with the exception of two that stayed for less than 6 months, have been absolute nightmares. And they were just people that came off of Craigslist and whatever, or people sourcing each other out. So let's have a friend. Spend Out of that entire year, I went 3 separate times, drove across state lines, more for about 6 hours or so, picked her up, brought her to my place, had her visit for a week to a week and a half. Shared a bed because we were both small, and I had just upgraded to a bigger bed because I wanted to feel more like an adult. She's a great housemate. She helps me clean. She helps me feel sane. She has fun with me. We do errands together. I'm like, oh my God, finally a sane person to be roommates with. I'm really happy we're going to be able to do this. I get to know her parents a little bit. They've got a house on a big hill in a fancy neighborhood that went to crap apparently. And their house is big. Like most two-bedroom apartments could fit in their living room and their kitchen combined. That kind of space. And they had one couch and one dining table in there. Like real minimalist kind of stuff. And here I am. I've got enough furniture to comfortably fill a two-bedroom home. To where like everyone has a seat. If you've got a couple of guests over, it's comfortable. It's not cluttered. It's high quality furniture because I was hoping to move into my own house before the freaking tanked the economy. Yeah, I ended up buying all this stuff to have my own home, and then the next year the economy tanked. Yippee me. Anyway, so I'm like, I can provide everything. All I need you to do is to pay something toward the rent so that I don't lose the place, and something for the internet because you're not working. You will be on the computer all the time, blah, blah, blah. The arrangement ended up being that her parents would pay me a fifth of the rent each month, not even a third or a quarter, a fifth of the rent each month. And then I had to beg them to pick up on paying the internet bill as well because she was on it 24/7 and I was working most of the time and not able to use it. So what I knew about this girl is that she said she was on the spectrum, said she was autistic, said she had severe anxiety issues, had panic attacks. I'm like, okay, I've worked with people like this. I know how to take care of them. We've tested being friends online. We've tested being friends in person. We've had solid tests of us living and everything together. Even if it was just like 1 to 2 week stays, we're going to be okay. I know how to talk to you. I know how to do stuff with you. We're good to go. So each thing that her mother said could be an issue, we had already addressed, and I had already been confident in the fact that through multiple attempts, she was able to do and process and do things with me and be like a supportive teamwork kind of thing. Try not to go into too many details in case she sees this. So I got my first red flag after I had her visit twice, and I had ended up having nothing to do for a weekend. So I went down to surprise her and stayed the night at her mom's place. And she starts telling me this story about how she's 19 the year that I know her. And when she was 15 or 16 or something like that, her friend hated her so much that she got a restraining order against her. I probably should have listened to that red flag. And then she starts telling me how her next door neighbor carries a massive machete knife on him at all times to threaten her mother with because her mother's crazy and the police never take care of it, and the judge, he always tricks the judges into letting things go. Another red flag, but I'm thinking, your mom's a little high strung. But other than that, she's more stable than my abusive mother. She seems like a fairly normal person. Your dad is definitely a normal person. You have your quirks with your little mental challenges, but you've been upfront with me about them. You are confident that all you need is a weed pen, which was legal in the state she was in. And I'm just thinking, okay, odd facts to know, but we're okay. So it goes to a few months down the road. We move in together. I had to move all of my property, organize it, took a week off of work to be able to get all of this to work out, gotten everything situated in a place that's probably smaller than it was advertised that it was in, to the point where a couple of my pieces of furniture are kind of like tucked into each other, like little what's that game where things drizzle down? And Tetris, like little Tetris pieces. But there's a big difference here. We live in a state that is very hot in this apartment, where if you do not have your curtains and your blinds closed, your utility bill can go up anywhere from $100 to $400 more expensive every month from letting the sun in. And that was the first thing I had talked to her about when we were moving in is, look, these are the things you have to do that are different in this state. Please let me know if you're having any issue with them. we can talk this out. We can talk things out as roommates. She agreed to it. She experienced it. She practiced it. But once we were living together, she completely changed. Like, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and suddenly I was living with Hyde. Like, we were roommates, and then COVID hit. Everyone's locked down. Everyone's told to stay indoors, not socialize, stay safe, wear a mask, all of that shit. And they've just begun enforcing curfews almost as soon as it hits. And we had just moved in the month before that all happened. So she and I are on a very tight list, very tight budgeting. I had agreed to help her manage money to get better at it so that she could potentially have a job, to help her look for a job, that kind of stuff. Because I was a job coach at the time. It's literally what I did for a living. It was super easy with her previously. So we're having to shop at food. I'm like, are you sure you're going to eat this? Are you sure you're going to eat that? I don't want you to buy something because you think you'll eat it. I want you to buy something because you will eat it. Because we're going to plan our meals. We're going to cook our meals. She says she will. And yet, every week, food is going to waste because she doesn't want to eat it. And she begs and moans and cries and begs and moans and cries and says she hasn't eaten anything, but whatever. And then I keep getting phone calls from her mom saying, are you trying to starve my child? What's going on? Just take her to McDonald's. Take her to McDonald's, to In-N-Out Burger, to Whataburger, to whatever burger she wants to eat because they've spoiled her fucking rotten and did not tell me they've done this. And then at the end of the month, they're like, why did you spend so much money? You're supposed to be budgeting. That's where I'm getting red flag number 3. I asked her to have her only 2 jobs. 1, take out the trash can because the dumpster was like 3 doors down from our apartment. Like, you can't go to the parking lot without passing the dumpster. It was that easy. And to keep her room clean. Well, not really her room clean, but like the area where it could spill out into the hallway kind of thing. I asked her to keep that clean. And I asked her if she needed help preparing food or anything to let me know. So every day I'm going to work, I'm thinking everything's fine. She's not communicating with me whatsoever. And every other fucking day, I'm getting a call from her mother. Why are you treating my daughter like this? Why aren't you feeding her? Why hasn't she been able to eat all day? Why is there a carpet that keeps tripping her up and you're not doing anything about it? That's abuse. And 9 times out of 10, the shit that her mother was telling me about, I had no idea they were issues. My so-called friend would not tell me she had issues. She would go to her mother, who would complain. She would complain to mommy, tell her all these little things that she wanted to talk about. And then mommy would berate me and treat me like a 2-year-old for not doing what her baby wants. So I've already had it up to here. I've called the dad 3 times in the month and a half that we've been living together, saying, please stop your wife from doing this. He's like, this is between you women. I got nothing to do with this. I'm not part of this. You talk to her mom. Kind of bullshit. So I start having almost nightly conversations with this so-called friend of mine. And I'm like, what's going on? Oh, well, I'm too scared to go outside and take the trash to the dumpster. I would believe it. Except almost every 2 days that I've come home, she's been out on the patio that links our apartment to other apartments, chatting and having a laugh and hanging out with our neighbors. You're not scared enough to be having fun with the neighbors 2 doors down, but you're too scared to go to the dumpster, which is an extra door down and a staircase. Okay. Try to have other mature conversations with her, like, what's wrong with the carpet? What's wrong with your mom telling me things are too dark in here? What's going on here? What's going on there? Apparently, she didn't like how dark it was. I said, well, if you're in the living room You can open the windows while you're there, but please close the curtains and blinds when you leave. That's all I'm going to ask. Couldn't be bothered to do that. I got 6 more threatening calls over the course of a week telling me that I needed to remove my curtains for her daughter's comfort. Same sort of shit keeps happening. I'm at my wit's end. Then, partway into the 3 total months that we lived together, I find out she's been taking my cat, scruffing him, and drowning him under the faucet because she doesn't like him. And she's mad because her parents were delulu enough to sell their house, move themselves into their truck and a trailer, and had to get rid of all but 2 of their cats. And she's pissed because I have my cat. My beautiful, sweet boy who won't even claw you if you're holding him by his feet in the air. Instead of taking on her mother's cat who I don't fucking know. And getting rid of my cat. So she's been drowning him and claiming that he's been using her cat's litter box and that her cat is terrified. The cat she had was so traumatized by this bitch and her mother that the cat would not clean herself. If this ex-friend of mine or her mother heard the cat licking themselves to get clean, they had 6 cats. If they heard any of them licking themselves, they would say, no, 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 bath, 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 and yell at the cats and chase them into the bathroom. And if they still heard them in the bathroom, they'd still yell and scare the cats to where the cats couldn't clean themselves. This fucking girl, at 19, almost 20 years old, was so delulu that she thought that her cat growled when she's happy and purred when it's angry. Science don't science that way. Her cat was growling like a almost every single time that girl held her cat or forced her to do something in her lap or whatever. I had the cat for a weekend that her father and her mother took her away. I'm like, look, the cat's actually really happy. She's purring. That cat was away from her master for 1 day and was a purring mess, sitting on a pillow in my bedroom, basking in the sun, when I had never seen her purr the entire time I'd ever known her, both on my visits and living with this girl. That's not crazy enough, right? Right? Well, I'm leaving a lot of stuff out because this is already close to 20 minutes long. But basically, what ended up happening is a lot of the times where I would talk to this girl and be like, look, you're an adult now. You need to be living with me the way that you were when we were doing our test visits. You have to have some responsibility. All I'm asking you to do is take care of the trash, keep your area clean when it comes into the living room, and that's all the responsibility I'm asking you to have every day. What is so difficult about that? And she pulls this whole, I'm gonna cry. I'm too stressed. I'm having a panic attack. I can't be thinking about this. Kind of, I'm gonna be sick. I need my pen. I need my weed pen. Kind of bullshit. To get me to back off. I would be like, okay, well, we won't talk about this anymore tomorrow, but we do need to resume this. We do need to resume this tomorrow, because this is a conversation that we legitimately need to have. But I'm going to go. I'm going to let you calm down. The time it takes for me to go to my bedroom, turn on my computer, and then go and check on her again, she's now sitting at her computer desk laughing her ass off and having fun playing video games with other people. She pulled that shit with all our neighbors to make them think that she was a delicate little flower of stress and anxiety that needed to be protected. So at the end of the 3 months, we have one neighbor at the end of our area that's right before the stairs that we leave. She's been very friendly with him. So I tried to be friendly with him as well. Find out he seemed like a cool guy to talk to, very down to earth. And so I started going to him whenever I needed to complain. I'm like, look, her mother's threatening me over this. She's threatening to destroy my property. She's threatening to throw things away when I'm at work and not at home just because her daughter seemingly doesn't like it. And these are things where I've talked to her daughter and been like, why didn't you tell me? She's like, oh, I only told mom about it because she kept asking. I didn't tell her that on purpose. Like, I'm not going to tell her it's in trouble. I told her, oh, I'm fine, mom. And she goes, oh, mom. Oh, I'm okay, mom. I'm okay. Oh, I'm going to tell you everything now. Apparently, that's what she's been doing with her mom. And I'm venting to this neighbor who I think I can trust. And I come home from work one day, don't have any idea her family has visited, and I find that my curtains and curtain rods have been ripped out of the wall of the apartment, which is extreme level of damage, which I would be on the hook to pay for. And other things that are in the apartment have been trashed that her mother had specifically warned me she would destroy and or get rid of if I didn't remove them to make her daughter comfortable, because it's not a minimalist apartment. I'm talking, we've got a TV, we got a TV station, we got a couch, we got two different armchairs because she wanted to bring hers and insisted on it even though I had all the furniture. My two couches are like stacked up against the ceiling that were meant to be extra, like too many love seats, because they don't fit anywhere else. We don't need a dinner table. We eat at the in front of this whatever. She brought a big ass, a big, like you see it in old 80s office movies, desk in her bedroom next to her bed that's on the floor because she doesn't want to put it on a frame. And most of my bedroom's filled up basically being a storage room for the stuff that I can't afford to put into storage, but I've been doing everything I can to put it away in the hopes that in a year or two I can actually get back on track to getting a house. I think all in total, the things that I had purchased for like couches and entertainment system and everything, it was over $7,000 worth of lightweight, high quality goods that I was hoping to carry over for the next 20 years. So I get home, stuff's trashed, and I call my neighbor. I said, I can't do this anymore. She's done. I'm kicking her out. I'm gonna make her mom. I can't do this anymore. She's out. I'm done. That's all I say. And I'm trying to calm down. This little bitch knows she's in trouble, so she's actually hiding at his house. The next thing I know, her father calls me. Mr. Hands Off, I'm not gonna do anything, calls me, and I have this on recording, where he starts accusing me of abusing and bruising and attacking his daughter over constantly not doing what I wanted her to do, and that he will start calling the cops and have them do wellness checks. And I'm like, I've done nothing to your daughter. None of her marks are mine. She's been banging herself into her fucking computer desk, even though I've told her that she needs a smaller desk. And you know what? Call the cops. I don't care. I will welcome those things. And I said, you know what? If you really don't like it, take your daughter. I don't want her as my roommate anymore. You didn't want her to be with you while you lived in your fucking trailer. Come on, take responsibility. You can have her back if you don't want to pay the money and you don't want to deal with my shit anymore. So I basically stopped putting up with their bullshit. I call them out on it. I tell them to take her back and that I'm not keeping her anymore. And all of a sudden, he starts threatening my life. Mind you, I am scared when I realize he's the one calling me, so I recorded all of this. He literally is telling me that he will murder me and put my body where no one will find it if I touch a hair on his daughter's head, and that he's on his way back to my apartment to make sure I don't touch his baby girl. All this happens within the last 3 months that we've known each other out of 2.5 years. 3 months of living together, and her father is threatening my life. I move out. They realize they're going to get stuck with an over $1,000 bill for a 2-bedroom apartment, so they move her out into the neighbor who was supposedly someone I trusted. And she spends the next 6 months living with him as a fuck buddy. 30-something-year-old dude with a 19-year-old girl who looks like a 12-year-old and pretends she's a boy. And he's her fuck buddy. And she spends every day around my apartment, because I ended up coming back because her family relinquished it. So it was better than being homeless. And they've stolen some of my property. They've gone through my locked box that kept my IDs and social security and other stuff. I had to rehome my cat for 2 months to get away from her and to make sure the place was stable. He's absolutely happy down there over there. He almost came over, but then he saw me talking about him. And this girl decides that she's going to spend the next however many months that she's around trying to lockpick her way into my apartment. Now, mind you, when I had first vacated the apartment in an attempt to get them to go and fuck off, I called the cops multiple times before that point because of her and her mother threatening me and making it sound like they were going to make it seem like I was the villain in all this. So the cops are tired of seeing me. They're there for the day that I'm escaping the very next day and trying to get all of my stuff into my abusive mother's trailer and everything because I have no one to turn to except for this crazy bitch that raised me. When that's going on, I tell the apartment complex was going on. But I was stupid. I put her name on the lease so that she couldn't just fuck off and screw me over if her name wasn't on the lease and then leave me with a bill I couldn't pay. So now my preparations to save myself are biting me in the ass. And it gets to the point where I'm the day that I'm moving my stuff out, and I've tried to call, well, I haven't called, I actually went in to the judge of the county that we were in. I told her what was going on. I said, ma'am, I've been threatened. My life has been threatened, and I've been harassed by my roommate. She's been attacking me. She's been abusing myself and my animals. She's been encouraging her mother to threaten my life. And I've tried to get her out of my apartment. I've tried to cut ties with her and everything else. I'm at the point where both the police and the apartment say they cannot do anything unless I get a restraining order. And the judge looks at me and says, how old is this person? 19, Your Honor. Get the fuck out of my courtroom. That's what a judge said to me. And then the judge starts reading me saying that I have no right to ruin a 19-year-old's life because I can't be a big girl and an adult and tell her to get out or solve the problem by talking it out. And she dismissed my case. The second she heard, I've been told to get a restraining order in order to get her out of my apartment. I had a list of the things this girl had done to my animals, the way she had been manipulative, the way she had been getting into my things, my private property, the way her family had been being aggressive towards me. Like, it was insane how big of a list I had. And I didn't get more than what you just heard. So I left. Didn't think there was anything I could do. Didn't think the law would ever protect me. Basically screwed at this point. She's living with her fuck buddy 3 doors away. I get cameras because people are banging on my door, plastering mud on the car and everything else. This psycho girl taught the kids of the apartment complex to plaster my car in handprints, bang their fists on the walls, door, and windows of my apartment complex to scare me. And when I wasn't home, she was boasting to other neighbors that she was trying to lockpick her way into my apartment to get things that she believed were hers, which I had purchased. And I had been like, if all goes well, you could earn this by getting your shit together. It was one of those, you don't like making your own food? Okay, I'm buying this that we can use while you're here. And if you would like to earn it to be yours permanently for when we part ways, this can be a reward and incentive. That's literally what I'd done for her. I had to wait until September of the year that COVID lockdown happened. September of that year. And was literally on the phone with a secondary judge explaining why I needed a restraining order against this girl's mother who was continuing to threaten me even after she had moved out of my apartment. Her fuck buddy, who I had camera pictures of walking past my unit, flashing a knife at my unit, walking slower in front of my unit every time he passed me. And this girl, for trying to break and enter into my home, abusing my animals, destruction of property, everything. Like, I'm leaving a lot of stuff out of this because it's already hitting the 30-minute mark. Judge grants it. Fuckboy blocks the police from serving her restraining order until she disappears. The cherry on top is that this crazy little psychopath tricked Fuck Buddy's roommate into thinking that she would be her new living caregiver, and that they were going to get an apartment together just like she and I had, and that they would save, and that she would be saved from me, and that she would now be able to be under services for disability and everything else, because that was the career I worked in. So I thought she legitimately could use some help with her physical needs and things like that, and to get her therapy and stuff like that. So I gave them the resources and the tools, how to find all that stuff. And while we had been living together, they had been bragging about how they were making every single one of her symptoms 10 times more exaggerated than they actually were, and were actually convincing doctors to help them fudge the numbers to get her on disability and to get the government to start paying her life. Yeah. So that had me livid on a new note, because then I realized this manipulative little girl is taking money away from people who are disabled that actually need it, when she's just wanting to be the baby princess and her mother's encouraging it. So lots of things happened. I'm livid. And then finally, the woman that was supposed to move in with her comes up to me one day and says, I am so sorry. We should have listened to you. I already ended my part of the lease. I don't have any of my stuff available right now. My roommate position has been replaced, and I am homeless now because this girl had decided that she and her mother were going to screw this nice lady over. She had paid money out of her pocket to get registered, to be a caregiver, to be a lives with someone kind of caretaker. And at the very last minute, she gets told that the mother and the psycho have already gotten her placed in a group home where she'll be living with a man and a woman, and that this nice lady is now screwed. So she walks up to me and says, you were right about everything. As soon as we were no longer needed, both this girl and her mother turned crazy on us. Both of them turned absolutely crazy on us. And now I'm going to be homeless because they screwed me over and wasted my time. I looked at her and I said, you guys should have listened to me when I was venting about her before you chose to let her in your home, instead of immediately assuming she had to be rescued because of her kind of attitude that she had, where she played the victim. People have real disabilities. I know they do because I work with them. And today was just a sour day, and my brain randomly brought her up because of the things I had to deal with today, and I remembered how angry I am that she abused the system, she abused me, she abused my friendship, and all the while, she got away with it. I saw her a few months later, in a parking lot for the grocery store. Our eyes locked for a second. And I'm not kidding. Remember, this is a 19-year-old girl who thinks she's a trans boy who looks 12 years old. She hops, skips, and jumps like a freaky little Bambi over to her current caregivers and starts putting on this I'm a little sweetheart baby, teenager lolly kind of attitude, body language. I can't hear anything. I'm just like, it's taken all I can not to want to walk over there and slug her, and I'm not a physical person at all. I am scared to hurt others because of the way I've been abused and because it would be career ending for me. But yeah, this fucking crazy girl got to live with a couple of idiots that are taking care of her scot-free after ruining multiple lives. And my biggest regret is that I was never able to serve her those restraining order papers despite 3 months of trying to do so because of her fuck buddy. And that means she can just keep doing this. She can keep screwing people over. She can keep manipulating them. There's no record that she's a psycho. I don't use that word lightly. She is a literal psycho. I did not think anyone could get anywhere close to my mother's level of abuse and mental manipulation. That girl and her mother tried every single trick that my mother knows against me during the 3 months that I lived with her. And the only reason I was able to keep my sanity and deny them is because I saw the patterns. If you see red flags, don't ignore them. They are there for a reason.